on voter fraud, as you know, hopefully there won't be a very big movement, because hopefully we're going to be able to win. I think we have the massive movement. I think we're going to have a tremendous victory. There won't be a transition, because I can't imagine we call a transition if we win. You know, they talk about, will there be a friendly transition? Of course there will, but we have a big problem, and you see it every day. You see it happening every day with ballots. We are gravely concerned about the Democrat assault on election integrity. In Brooklyn, 25% of mail-in ballots were ruled invalid in June's Democrat primary. You saw that. And a special election in New Jersey, 20% of the ballots were thrown out, and 4 people are now being prosecuted for fraud. It's all in the mail-in ballots. 35,000 mail-in ballots were rejected in Florida's primary, and 100,000 were rejected in California, and that's just the beginning. A week after Pennsylvania's primary, half of the counties were still counting ballots, and you'll be counting them here, because this is a much bigger version of all of that. Just last week, a number of discarded military ballots were discovered in Pennsylvania. All of the recovered ballots, these were ballots that were thrown out, had been cast for a person named Donald J. Trump. In Wisconsin, 3 trays of mail containing absentee ballots were found in a ditch. They were thrown in a ditch. 3 trays, that's a lot. In North Carolina, voters are reporting receiving 2 ballots in the mail. Many voters, I hear it's thousands, but they're getting 2 ballots. I wonder if those are Democrat areas, because the word is they are. In Iowa caucuses last winter, you know what happened there? You all reported on it, I think, very well, right? You remember that? No. It was not good, right? But in Iowa, they still don't really know who the winner was. I think they called somebody eventually, but it was many, many weeks later. But they really have no idea, and that's being continuous to be, and that's little, that's just a small, that continues to be litigated in Iowa. They can't run a simple caucus, yet now they're trying to radically write election laws nationwide just weeks before the presidential election. I heard in New York today that Governor Cuomo wants to try and simplify the ballots because he thinks they're too complicated. And all of that, I agree with him. I think that's good, but you don't do that now. The ballots are starting to come in, and, you know, it's not, you can't do it now. It's too late. Joe Biden and the Democrat extremists oppose all of these efforts to ensure election integrity. They oppose voter ID. Think of it, voter ID. They want a picture. They have a picture for almost everything nowadays, but they don't want a picture. You had a picture to get into the Democrat National Convention. You had a card with your picture on it. Did you know that, fellas? You have to get into the Democratic National Convention, you have a card and your picture is on it. But they don't want it for voting, which is a very sacred right. We want proof of citizenship, a social security number requirement. They don't want any of this to happen. And they want no signature verification. They don't want to have a verified signature. So they want none of the safety valves that you would have. Think of it. They oppose voter ID. They oppose proof of citizenship. They oppose a social security number and requirements for social security numbers as a safety valve. And they oppose even simple signature verifications. They don't want to have signature verification. They want to require all states to do mail-in balloting, right? I call it unsolicited. Some people call it universal. I think universal doesn't make sense because nobody understands why universal. It's unsolicited. They want unsolicited mail-in balloting. In other words, just send these ballots to whoever you can think of. We had a case, I guess, in New Jersey you were reading to me where somebody was sent 2 ballots, so they had slightly, one was had a hyphen in it, the name, and the other one had a K, and they got 2 names under it. So I wonder if that person was a Democrat, probably was. And mailing of millions of ballots to people who never asked for them. So millions of people are going to be getting ballots who never asked for the ballots. They don't want the ballots, or maybe they want them, maybe they don't. Nobody knows, really. This is really a recipe for chaos. So when you look at what happened in Iowa, and again, that was run by very smart people. It was a very limited election. It was very small numbers we're talking about. Talking about doing that for the entire nation. And you could forget about November 3rd because you're going to be counting these things forever. And it's very dangerous for our country. So certainly transition, we all believe in transition. We believe not only in transition, but a very friendly. But when the ballots and when the system is rigged, which it is, obviously it is, and the only one that knows that better than me are the Democrats. And they go into closed rooms and they must laugh like hell at what's going on because these ballots are being found. And this is the beginning. I talk about it now at the rallies. All these people are watching. Eyes and ears, thousands and thousands, tens of thousands. But there's no justification for these extreme changes to the election law. And if you can go to the grocery store, you can have an ID with your picture on it to vote is so important. I mean, it's just so important. So a lot of things are going on. Very importantly, though, I think very, very, very importantly is when you do your reporting, I think you ought to report on the FBI scandal because it's one of the great scandals in the history of our country. And I think people want to hear about it. If you look at the internet, you'll see how people want to hear about it. And they all know about it. And it just makes the media look so bad. And there's so much reporting, I could go into it right now, but I'm not going to do that. But it would be a tremendous thing for the mainstream media to really start reporting. I think your ratings would go through the roof. I really do, because people really are tired of this fake stuff where you don't even talk about it. And the biggest scandal, certainly the biggest political scandal in the history of our country by far, bigger than Watergate, much bigger than Watergate,